Congressional Democrats have released a third batch of explosive documents from the Jeffrey Epstein estate that reveal previously undisclosed connections between the late convicted sex offender and some of the world's most powerful figures, including billionaire entrepreneur Elon Musk and Britain's Prince Andrew. The files, turned over to the House Oversight Committee by the Jeffrey Epstein estate, contain phone message logs, flight manifests, financial ledgers, and daily schedules that paint a disturbing picture of Epstein's extensive network of elite contacts during the height of his influence as a financier and socialite before his criminal activities were fully exposed. The most significant revelation involves Tesla and SpaceX CEO Elon Musk, with documents showing that Epstein had extended an invitation for Musk to visit his private island in the Caribbean in December 2014. A specific entry dated December 6, 2014 reads, "Reminder, Elon Musk to island December 6th. Is this still happening?" The notation suggests that plans were in motion for Musk to visit Little St. James, Epstein's private island in the U.S. Virgin Islands that has since been dubbed Pedophile Island by media outlets due to allegations that it served as a location where Epstein's sexual abuse of minors occurred. Musk has previously stated publicly that while Epstein had invited him to the island, he had declined the invitation, and there is no evidence in the released documents indicating that the visit actually took place. Prince Andrew's connection to Epstein has been documented in even more detail, with flight manifest records showing that the Duke of York was aboard Epstein's private aircraft on May 12, 2000, traveling from Teterboro, New Jersey, to West Palm Beach, Florida. The manifest indicates that Prince Andrew was accompanied on this flight by both Epstein and his longtime associate Ghislaine Maxwell, who was convicted in 2021 of conspiring with Epstein to traffic underage girls for sexual abuse. This flight occurred during a period when Prince Andrew was actively involved in royal duties and international business promotion for the United Kingdom, making his association with Epstein particularly problematic for the British royal family. Perhaps even more concerning are heavily redacted financial ledger entries that record 2 payments for massages for someone identified only as Andrew in February and May 2000. While Buckingham Palace records, contemporary photographs, and press reports from that time period confirm that Prince Andrew had traveled to the United States around the dates recorded in the newly released documents, it remains unclear whether the Andrew referenced in the massage payment ledger specifically refers to Prince Andrew. However, the timing correlation raises significant questions about the nature and extent of Prince Andrew's relationship with Epstein during this crucial period. According to official palace records, on May 11, 2000, Buckingham Palace announced on its website that Prince Andrew had flown to New York to attend a reception for the National Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Children, a charitable organization focused on child protection. The irony of this official purpose for his trip, given the context of Epstein's later convictions for crimes against children, has not been lost on observers and critics. Palace records indicate that Prince Andrew returned to the United Kingdom on May 15, 2000, just 3 days after the documented flight with Epstein and Maxwell. The newly released documents also reveal Epstein's connections to other prominent figures in technology, politics, and business. Internet entrepreneur and venture capitalist Peter Thiel, co-founder of PayPal and Palantir Technologies, is mentioned in connection with a planned lunch meeting in November 2017. This timing is particularly significant as it occurred well after Epstein's 2008 conviction and guilty plea on charges related to procuring a minor for prostitution, suggesting that some high-profile figures continued to maintain contact with Epstein despite his criminal record. Steve Bannon, former White House chief strategist and advisor to Donald Trump, is referenced in connection with a planned breakfast meeting on February 17, 2019. This date is especially noteworthy as it falls just months before Epstein's arrest in July 2019 on federal sex trafficking charges, indicating that Epstein was still attempting to maintain and cultivate relationships with politically influential figures, even as federal investigators were closing in on him. Microsoft founder Bill Gates also appears in the documents in connection with tentative plans for a breakfast party in December 2014. Gates' association with Epstein has been a source of significant controversy and personal regret for the billionaire philanthropist. In a 2022 interview with the BBC, Gates acknowledged that his decision to meet with Epstein had been a mistake, and he has since faced criticism for maintaining contact with the convicted sex offender after Epstein's criminal history was already known. The revelation of planned social gatherings adds another layer to questions about the extent and nature of their relationship. The release of these documents represents the third batch of materials produced by the Jeffrey Epstein estate as part of ongoing congressional oversight and investigation efforts. Democrats on the House Oversight Committee have emphasized that these partial records provide only a glimpse into Epstein's extensive network of connections and have called for the release of additional materials. The documents include not only the names and planned meetings mentioned above, but also extensive phone message logs, copies of flight logs and manifests for various aircraft used by Epstein, copies of financial ledgers that tracked various expenses and payments, and detailed daily schedules that tracked Epstein's movements and appointments. Sarah Guerrero, a spokesperson for the Democrats on the House Oversight Committee, has used the document release to pressure Attorney General Pam Bondi to authorize the release of additional files related to Epstein's activities and connections. It should be clear to every American that Jeffrey Epstein was friends with some of the most powerful and wealthiest men in the world, Guerrero stated. Every new document produced provides new information as we work to bring justice for the survivors and victims. Her comments reflect the ongoing political pressure to fully investigate and expose the extent of Epstein's network and the potential knowledge that his associates may have had about his criminal activities. However, Republicans on the House Oversight Committee have criticized the Democratic approach to the document release, accusing their colleagues of putting politics over victims. Republican committee members have indicated that they plan to release a more comprehensive set of documents in the near future, suggesting that the current release may represent only a fraction of the available materials. This partisan disagreement over the handling of the Epstein documents reflects broader political tensions about how to address the scandal and its implications for prominent figures across party lines. It is crucial to note that the mere mention of individuals in Epstein's documents, schedules, or flight logs does not constitute evidence of wrongdoing or awareness of criminal activity. Many prominent figures who had business or social contact with Epstein have maintained that they were unaware of his criminal behavior and would never have associated with him had they known the truth about his activities. The documents primarily show planned meetings, travel arrangements, and social contacts rather than evidence of participation in or knowledge of illegal activities. Jeffrey Epstein's criminal history provides essential context for understanding the significance of these revelations. In 2008, Epstein reached a controversial plea deal with federal prosecutors after parents of a 14-year-old girl reported to Florida police that Epstein had molested their daughter at his Palm Beach mansion. The plea agreement, which has since been widely criticized as too lenient, allowed Epstein to plead guilty to state charges of procuring a person under the age of 18 for prostitution and soliciting a prostitute. He served just 13 months in a county jail with significant work release privileges that allowed him to leave jail for up to 12 hours per day, 6 days per week. Following his release, Epstein resumed his activities as a financier and socialite, maintaining homes in New York, Florida, New Mexico, and the U.S. Virgin Islands, along with his private island. He continued to cultivate relationships with wealthy and powerful individuals, using his connections and perceived influence to maintain his position in elite social circles despite his criminal record. This period, from 2009 until his arrest in 2019, appears to be when many of the meetings and contacts documented in the newly released files occurred. Epstein's second arrest came in July 2019, when federal prosecutors in New York charged him with sex trafficking of minors and conspiracy to engage in sex trafficking of minors. The charges alleged that between 2002 and 2005, Epstein had operated a sex trafficking ring in which he paid hundreds of dollars to girls as young as 14 to have sex with him at his homes in Manhattan and Palm Beach, and that he worked with employees and associates to lure the girls to his residences. Prosecutors also alleged that Epstein had attempted to influence potential witnesses against him by paying off individuals who might testify about his conduct. The case never reached trial, as Epstein died by suicide in his cell at the Metropolitan Correctional Center in Manhattan on August 10, 2019, while awaiting trial. His death sparked numerous conspiracy theories and raised questions about the security procedures at the federal facility, as Epstein had been placed on suicide watch following a previous apparent suicide attempt, but had been removed from that status shortly before his death. Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein's longtime associate who appears in the flight manifest with Prince Andrew, was subsequently arrested and charged with conspiracy to entice minors to travel to engage in illegal sex acts, conspiracy to transport minors with intent to engage in criminal sexual activity, and perjury. Maxwell was convicted on December 29, 2021, of 5 of the 6 charges against her, and was sentenced to 20 years in federal prison. Her conviction provided some measure of justice for Epstein's victims, but many questions about the full extent of the operation and the knowledge of various associates remain unanswered. The ongoing release of documents and the congressional investigation reflect continued efforts to understand the scope of Epstein's activities and to ensure that all individuals who may have participated in or enabled his crimes are held accountable. For the victims and survivors of Epstein's abuse, the gradual revelation of information provides both hope for justice and renewed trauma as details of the network that surrounded their abuser become public. Prince Andrew has faced particular scrutiny regarding his relationship with Epstein, especially following a disastrous 2019 BBC interview in which he attempted to explain his association with the convicted sex offender. During that interview, Prince Andrew claimed that he had no recollection of meeting Virginia Giuffre, who alleged that she was trafficked to have sex with the prince when she was 17 years old. Prince Andrew's explanation of his activities and his apparent lack of regret about his friendship with Epstein led to widespread criticism and ultimately to his withdrawal from public royal duties. In 2022, Prince Andrew reached a financial settlement with Virginia Giuffre in her civil lawsuit against him, effectively ending the legal proceedings without an admission of guilt, but also without a clear exoneration. The settlement amount was not disclosed, but reports suggested it was in the millions of dollars. Prince Andrew has consistently denied any wrongdoing and has stated that he regrets his association with Epstein, but the new document releases continue to raise questions about the extent and nature of that relationship. For Elon Musk, the revelation of Epstein's invitation represents another potential controversy for the world's richest person, who has faced various scandals and legal challenges in recent years. Musk has built his reputation on being a visionary entrepreneur focused on advancing technology for the benefit of humanity through companies like Tesla, SpaceX, and more recently, through his acquisition and transformation of Twitter into X. Any association with Epstein, even if limited to declined invitations, threatens to tarnish that reputation and provides ammunition for critics who question Musk's judgment and character. The timing of the invitation to Musk is also significant, as December 2014 was a period when Tesla was establishing itself as a major force in the automotive industry and SpaceX was achieving significant milestones in space exploration. Musk's rising profile as a tech innovator and his increasing wealth would have made him an attractive target for Epstein's networking efforts, as the financier appeared to seek out connections with influential and wealthy individuals across various industries. The broader implications of these document releases extend beyond the specific individuals named to questions about how networks of wealth and power can enable criminal behavior and how society should address situations where prominent figures have had contact with known criminals. The Epstein case has highlighted weaknesses in the justice system, including the controversial 2008 plea deal that allowed him to continue his activities for more than a decade after his initial conviction. As congressional investigations continue and additional documents are potentially released, the public will likely learn more about the full extent of Epstein's network and the nature of his relationships with various prominent figures. For the victims and survivors of his crimes, each revelation brings both the hope of greater understanding and accountability and the pain of reliving trauma that has already had devastating impacts on their lives. The case also raises important questions about due process, the presumption of innocence, and how society should treat individuals who had contact with criminals but may not have been aware of their illegal activities. While it is natural and appropriate to scrutinize the associations of public figures, it is also important to distinguish between evidence of wrongdoing and mere social or business contact, particularly when such contact occurred before criminal activities were widely known or proven in court. Given that these newly released Epstein documents show planned meetings and travel arrangements with some of the world's most powerful figures years after his 2008 conviction for sex-related crimes involving a minor, what does this reveal about the accountability mechanisms, or lack thereof, that allow convicted sex offenders to maintain access to elite circles of wealth and political influence?